Hello, it's Peter Camsman and Jack from BAM, and we are back for our first November update. And well, there is absolutely no space whatsoever, Jack. So how on earth are you working here?
No, we've got effectively a postage stamp of a work area now to work on. So we're very congested. As you can see behind us, really, as we walked underneath this, we put up the last span of the link bridge and the false work, and we're completely cut off from Dawlish with plant and vehicle access at the moment.
It's absolutely bizarre. So
yeah, so I'll give you a bit of an overview on what we're doing in the different work areas. You can see effectively where we're working now and how much kit we've had to bring down before we close the access off.
Yeah.
Right, so you can see in front of us, Neil, we've put the last span of the link bridge up. Like I just mentioned, that's effectively cut us right off from Dawlish with plant and vehicle access. If you look down now, you can see the false work right the way through from Marine Parade back into section B on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Prior to us closing off the access, obviously there's a bit of logistics that we have to think about. So all of the materials, all of the steel, keeping enough materials on this side, such as the granite sets, the cement, all the materials that we need to work up on top of section B had to be loaded down to the site and put this side of the wall prior to us closing off the access.
Yeah.
We are looking in the next couple of days at putting a temporary access portal in this area here. So where you've got the primary beams up on top and you've got the props here, we're looking at pushing those a bit further out just to allow our trailer to reverse back under here so we can deliver some more materials into the scheme. But that's a bit of an amendment to the temporary works design, so it's just going through the design check at the moment.
Okay.
And we're putting together a bit of a solution just so we can get vehicle access back through here, because it's just not ideal with being cut off there. It's hard to get rid of any kind of pallets, any materials which aren't used here.
Yeah.
And when we go up on top in a minute, you'll see that there's basically only space to fit the two machines in here. Yeah. So you can see now, pretty much most of the rock armour's gone. That's in front of us. All of the containers have gone, which were protecting us on the left-hand side of section B, just past where the 70-ton machine is there.
Yeah.
We're keeping the steel elevated on blocks there, because what we've been finding is, because we've got the big opening still in the front of the seawall there, where the machines have been pulling the bun back in each of the shifts so we can get access in and out of the basin. If we've had any storm events or any kind of waves or anything really with a significant wave, it's been washing all of our protection back up into the basin, and it's been covering all the sand on the floor. So we've basically had to dig the steel out of the sand probably 2 or 3 times, because it's been absolutely saturated and covered in sand. So that's the reason why it's elevated up on blocks at the moment, just to keep it out of the sand really. You can see the water flow down in Dawlish water, quite a heavy flow at the moment, just the amount of rainfall we've had. You can see the little lip at the bottom of the ramp there, which is where we're getting ready for the eel ramp to install. Okay. So we've got all the eel ramp up in our compound at 1Ls now. Yeah. And that's the idea about cutting that opening back out over there so we can get the eel ramp precast underneath. And we're coming back into spring tides next week, and the spring tides are aligning with our working pattern as well. So it's the perfect opportunity, if we can get that sorted by Monday, Tuesday, to bring the precast in and start getting that eel ramp in there. Okay. One of the viewers did have a question about the eel ramp and the environmental agency. So as part of the works, we have to do a permit for the environmental agency to cover any temporary works and any permanent works. As part of the application, the environmental agency reviews different consultants, and they basically consider different species and the way different species move around, etc. And that's where the eel ramp came from. Yeah. So as part of the permanent works, the environmental agency asked Network Rail to include within the design an eel passage so that eels can travel back upstream. Okay. Brilliant. So as we come around now, the guys have been working on Marine Parade, which I'll show you that first, probably and then we'll go up onto the link bridge and have a little look at that. So again, we've still got the gap in the units here. Yeah. That's to allow plant access in and out and the ramp. And we're basically storing one machine on this side of the basin in between the change in tidal levels, and then one machine over there. There's only 2 over there at the moment because they're just in the process of being refueled. So we come up onto the Marine Parade interface now. We've installed the recurve units and the L units. The L units were installed in possession, and all the track drainage has been completed now. So that's everything basically up to where the link bridge is that you can see now. And there's a small in situ, so poured on site concrete pour that we've got to do there, where you can see the steelwork sticking up. And that ties everything into the link bridge. The structural slabs that you can see on the floor here tie the recurve unit to the L unit. Yeah. And then we pour these in hit and miss bays. The reason why we do that is we fix the steel, install the shuttering. As you can see, one of the chippies stripping out the shuttering now. Yeah. The shuttering obviously has struts at the bottom to prevent to hold the wet concrete up in its temporary state. They strip the formwork out then, and then they do the infill bays, and then that ties all the units together. So there's quite a lot of mass in these slabs, and that's what holds the recav unit down. As you can see, the guys have been dropping the 57.5mm dowel bars in, which we've talked about previously on all the other videos, which hold the recav units down into the blocks below.
Yeah. Okay.
And then behind us, you've then got the link bridge.
Wow.
So it's really, really coming together now.
That's amazing.
We've got the reinforcement in for 2 spans, and we also have the brackets, which you can see on the left-hand side, the stainless steel brackets, there to support the permanent fencing.
Okay.
So we've got Stoneman Engineering working down in the distance. They're installing the fencing for us, and they've been the supplier which we've used for all of the fencing right the way throughout this scheme. So they produced the fencing on the left-hand side, the black fencing, which you can see. They've produced the floodgates, which we've talked about previously as we've gone down the promenade. Yeah. And they've also produced all of the stainless steel elements. So Stoneman are on site at the moment installing the brackets. On to the side of the brackets then, you can see we've just put some temporary holding down brackets, which are the kind of arms which you can see coming off the timber work there. They get removed in the permanent state, and then you end up with kind of a nice effect on the side of 2 stainless steel arms sticking up and a load of post and wire strands running through here. Okay. Post and wire fencing will run around the inside of the Stilling Basin as well.
That's right, you mentioned that on the last tour, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, so the guys are on site have been on site this week doing the drilling for the posts, and I think they're due to start the installation of the posts once they've finished all the brackets through here. Okay. So we can't get onto the link bridge through this way at the moment. No. This is purely just, we leave a gap at the end because we want to blow everything out that's stuck inside the deck. So as the guys are kind of tying all the tying wire, when they cut it, all the tying wire drops down to the surface. And what we want to make sure is that nothing is left like kind of penetrating the surface once we strip the formwork off. Okay. So we blow everything out, we clean everything out, we leave a hole on the end to blow everything out too, and then we take all the materials and the rubbish away, and then nothing's left kind of penetrating that face as we strip the shuttering out. You can see on the left-hand side here, the guys have started fixing the formwork between the brackets. Yeah. So if you can see, there's a bit of a splayed shutter. Yeah. That will be the shape of the edge of the bridge. So that's what you'll see left finished. It won't be a straight vertical face. It will be angled and kind of concave back in on itself. And then as you look down the profile of the deck, probably won't be able to see it that well on the camera, but the deck kind of follows an arched effect. Yeah. Just to allow drainage run off of the deck. Okay. So drainage from the centre of the deck, you've got a cross fall in both directions. Wow. So just in terms of that work area that I was talking about earlier, that postage stamp, our postage stamp is effectively where the 2 machines are now. Obviously you can see all the steel that you've got around the back here, you can see the materials that we've got down here, and we've literally just got a very, very limited amount of space to work
and a little bit the other side, yeah.
Yeah. So we're in the process of kind of finalising the sequence of how we get out of here, the best way and the fastest approach to get out of here. And that is for us to close up this side of the basin first and start the surfacing works all over this side. Yeah. When we go up on top in a minute, on top of section B, as you go up the stairs on the left-hand side, going back towards Coast Guards, you'll see the guys, they've started with the granite sets in those areas. This whole area that you can see on the left-hand side in front of us, that's all getting granite sets, and on the right-hand side. So round about where the 70-ton machine sat, there'll be some public seating and a public realm area there. And the same on the right-hand side where you can see the kind of 2 tower lights. Yeah. The 3 concrete units that you can see on the right-hand side over there, they're 3 of the units which go next to the station footbridge. And they've got to go up on top of the wall over the weekend. Oh, okay. Just because we want to free up as much space as we can in this area. And over the next week or 2, we're going to start pulling out all the sand that you can see over there that we've been using to build the marine parade interface with. So we'll come on to the link bridge then. We're basically stood at midpoint, so you can see on the distance there where the engineers mark the midpoint of the deck up. Yeah. That becomes flat for about a metre and a half at the top of the deck there, and you have a cross fall in both directions.
Right, so we're bang in the middle now, aren't we?
Yeah. The bridge, when it's poured, has a cross fall from the track side to the seaward side, and it has a drainage channel on the left-hand side here to allow water to drain off.
Right. So you're going to pour the whole lot at once, are you?
So originally we were meant to pour 2 spans,
Okay.
but we've changed that to pouring 3 spans at once now. The reason for that is because if we pour 2 spans together, we have to install what's called a stop end to allow, so the concrete doesn't flow into the adjacent pour.
Yeah.
And the way the reinforcement's been detailed by the designer, you have to install pretty much all of the reinforcement because there's an overlap into the adjacent span.
Yeah.
So rather than spend time putting the stop end in, it's more quicker and more efficient for us to pour all 3 spans together. We kind of gain on programme, otherwise we'd spend time putting up stop ends.
Yeah,
So
right, I'm with
the
you.
decision's been made to switch it into a 3-span pour. You can see in front of us, like I mentioned, the brackets, the stainless steel brackets which hold the fencing in. They have 4 big holding down bolts which go into the profile of the deck and hold it down, hold the fencing down into the deck itself once it's cast. One of the viewers did ask us how the steelwork doesn't show on the underside of the formwork or the underside of the deck once it's been poured. So the answer to that is the guys, you can see on this span where the guys are doing it now. So you've got the northern pier here, which ties the 2 spans together and the reinforcement in. So there's loads of big bars which will run through this section. Yeah. And you can see the guys there starting to put the base of the reinforcement in. They put what's called a concrete cover block on the floor. Yeah. So different elements of the scheme have different cover requirements depending on the exposure. So everything that's seaward facing on the side of the seawall has 115 mil cover. That 115 mil cover is to allow for the concrete. The concrete is designed basically to erode over the years while still protecting the reinforcement. So the reinforcement's what makes it a structural pour. The reinforcement allows you. Well, the reinforcement caters for kind of all the loads which are put into the structure. The shear and the shear stresses, the kind of pull-out stresses, all that sort of stuff. Okay. So, bots are continuing with the 3rd span now, and that'll tie us back into section B over there. Then, the last unit of section B on the footbridge was put in 2 days ago. Yeah. And that's pretty much all the precast in through this section now. Wow. And then you've just got, again, the side of the basin over there to have a bit of a look at. So I'll take you back down and we'll go back up on section B.
So if you like this video, please hit share and like and subscribe to our channel for more of these.
So we come up onto the top of section B now. Yeah. Most of the angle lines are in on the floor, there to support the granite sets. We'll come onto those in a moment. We'll just have a little look back down the link bridge from this side. You can start to see the bridge now coming back in together, and that's where you'll walk down and walk over to join Marine Parade. So disabled access up into here. You can come underneath the bridge, up onto Marine Parade and over the wall. Yeah. Behind us, in that gap over there that you can see, there'll be another floodgate in the station there. If for some reason the lift bridge did ever go down, once it's been constructed, you can still get out the station through that way. Right. Okay. And then come back round underneath the underpass. But the way that the structure's been designed is that it shouldn't ever really go down. No. The Barrow crossing, a viewer asked about the Barrow crossing, what happens with that in the permanent works. That stays in operation until the lift bridge has been installed. Once the lift bridge has been installed, the Barrow crossing gets decommissioned. That's the whole idea of the lift bridge, to remove the need for passengers to cross over operational infrastructure. So I think on the last video, the guys were laying granite sets in this bay. It's been a very slow process with the granite sets, to be honest with you. It's one of the activities now. Well, all of the finishing works and the activities for the finishing require us to complete the work when it's not raining. Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, we've pretty much had 5 weeks of non-stop rain. Yeah.
Oh, but these are looking great.
Yeah, so they're wet at the moment, so you can't really see the colour difference that great, but when they're dry, you get a really big colour difference between the grey and the pink Portuguese granite there. Like I mentioned in the last video, the grey granite which runs through these strips here, they replicate where the arches used to sit in the station building. And then when you've got on the opposite side, then you've got the arches replicated in the facing panels.
Wow.
So the three units that I was talking about, they're to go in this gap here. Okay. And this structural slab that you can see at the bottom here, that ties into the L units then. So it basically fills the gap between. And then there's another load of precast which runs down into where the stairs and the lift bridge will be then. So right the way throughout this section, round about where the machine sat through there, there'll be what's called a shield wall. That will protect the staircase and protect the lift itself. The shield wall is a structural it's going to be structural concrete again. We're doing it, making it in precast, and we're having it delivered over from Ireland. That's going to be installed during the March blockades and some of the possessions after that.
Okay.
See now the guy who's working down in the pit, so it's probably best I'll take you down and you can have a little bit more of a look down there,
Okay.
and I can explain it a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I'll take you around the other side. Right, so we've got inside the lift pit now. So you can see the guys there all harnessed up. We have a 5-minute emergency plan, so you can see the pumps working in the background there. They're keeping control of the water, keep the water level down. The guys have got gas monitors down in there because they are working with all the kit. So we try and keep all the compressors and the generator out of the hole, because fumes generate gases, and the air's more dense than kind of not like your normal air.
Yeah.
So all of the fumes would sit in there. So that's why we try and keep all of the generators on the outside of the hole and only just have the drilling kit in there. There's an emergency evacuation plan in place, so we've got the machine behind us. We've got oxygen air-fed masks if we need to get down there to recover anybody, etc. Because it is quite a deep pit to work in. So originally, the reason why the guys are coring at the bottom now, so you can start to see the holes where the guys are, it's called stitch drilling what they're doing. They drill around the perimeter of the concrete, cast a bar in the middle, and they basically pull the lump of concrete out.
Right, okay.
The reason why they're doing that is because on the historic drawings of the old wall, this lift shaft was only meant to be 5-6 metres deep, and should have been back down to beach level.
Yeah.
But for some reason, in this section, the wall was a lot deeper than what we'd found on historic drawings.
Right, okay.
So we'd broken down with the machine to the level which the guys are stood at now.
Yeah.
Which was meant to be kind of the underside of the wall.
Right, okay.
Bottom of sand level and bottom of weathered rock level, or top of weathered rock level, should I say. When we got down there, I asked the guys to complete some cores because we were outside the reach of the machines, and we were still showing a further 2 metres to go down into the pit.
Wow.
So because we were outside the reach of the machine, and we couldn't lift the blocks down any lower because we can't reach them to pick them back out, then we've had to change the operation into this stitch drilling operation now.
Okay.
So, like I mentioned, the guys core around the perimeter, we pull the sleeves out, and what that does is create a hole or a void, which will then pile through in the Christmas possessions and with the piling rig.
Yeah.
So the piles will then go down probably about another 6 or 7 metres into the rock or beach as it is.
What it is, yeah.
And that's what will then support the foundation for the lift bridge structure itself.
Yeah.
So in this area, there's 8 piles to do. They've done the first 4, well, they're just about to complete the 4th ring now.
Yeah.
And that's basically those 4 piles done. And next week they'll complete the piles over there. We'll then cast some permanent casings in.
Yeah.
And we'll concrete around the permanent casings where the 8 voids have been formed for the piles. And we'll bring concrete back up to the same level as what me and you are stood at now.
Yeah.
And then from there, we'll bring the piling kit in over Christmas, and that will sit on top of the concrete which we've poured, installing piles down through those permanent sleeves which we've cast in. So, quite a technical operation, and obviously a bit unexpected in terms of the levels, what we're working with down there.
Yeah.
But you know, you've just got to kind of adapt your methodology to suit stuff like that, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the old historic structures, we don't really have a great deal of information on, just because of the year that they were built, and there's not a lot of archived information, to be honest with you.
No, I bet.
But you know, it's a problem overcome anyway.
Absolutely.
So over the last week, we've been surfacing down from the UTX where we've been putting the concrete in.
Yeah.
If you remember me previously saying, the reason why we've never surfaced this area is we've got the concrete line which you can see here. You do get blockages in the concrete line now and then, and you have to clear the blockages, and that allows you to carry on pumping it through.
Yeah.
The reason why we've never poured these is because if you do have a blockage, you've got to split the line, and we didn't want to put any concrete over finished surface.
Okay.
Now we're pretty much getting to the end of where we need to get concrete to. There's not very many pours left to complete on the wall down there now. There's a few structural pours, obviously the bridge pour, and then a bit of regulating right the way throughout both sides of the stilling basin, and that gets us back up to beach level. So last week we started on the surface and slabs through here, and then now progressed back down into the kind of lift shaft area, which you can see behind us here then. We're not going to go any further than probably a couple of 3 metres in front of where the pump is.
Yeah.
That's because the lift bridge is going to be installed first.
Okay.
So the piling works at Christmas, like I mentioned prior to this. We're lifting the piling rig over on the 17th of December, Saturday night possession, with a 200-ton crane. 200-ton crane comes in, 2 hours to mobilise. We get kind of set up on the crane pad that we have designed. lifts the rig over, lifts some permanent sleeves over for it and some cages, and then the crane goes then, and then all the work is done from this side at Christmas.
Wow.
For the March blockade, we've got a 650 ton crane coming in. That's a bit longer on the rigging time, that's about 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
Crane will come in, rig up on the temporary works, mats that we put down again, and then we'll start lifting precast elements over then.
Thanks again, Jack, for the brilliant tour. There's so much going on at the minute.
No worries, you're welcome, mate. If anybody's got any queries on the work we're doing, you're more than welcome to ask them in the comments.
Thanks for watching.